We still couldn't, apparently, still can't find anybody from the, outside the county or in the county to, wanna be on and participate in that. And like Mike said, it was hard to get meetings together, just with all of us even, the workload and.
I think I would request next time if our commissioner can't make it, that there be an alternate, so that we have some information of the
Okay.
process and what's going on. So, my second question is, there was an 11, and I could be wrong on the number, I know it shifted maybe a little when the city reduced the water rates, but initially when they were raised, we got a report that our, increase in water for the detention center was gonna be $11,000. Is that a month or a year? Is
Well, we
that,
pay, well, we're up to, I think the last bill I looked at, we were at like $16.94 for the month for sewer. And
okay,
so, I don't remember off the top of my head, it was a substantial increase. I think it was actually closer to $17,000 a year. If my memory is serving me correctly. Hence why we raised the jail rate, for the deep jail rate.
Are you talking about the sewer
Yep.
raise? Yeah, because we haven't done water rates yet.
okay, sewer rate, so the $17,000 increase then, was that, in my opinion, there should be a wash in this contract? Was there an increase by chance of that money, or at least 50% of it, so that there's a cost share of that? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Kinda.
We talked about it in a couple of meetings a while back. I don't know if that was something that was translated to you guys on your team.
No, in fact, the meeting that you were at, this was later, when was at a council meeting when he saw what his was. So yeah, that news hadn't really been out, nobody knew, till when mentioned it that night.
For the water?
What your sewer, what your water rate would have been, and then.
Yeah, because the water rate's it, that's an all
Yeah,
different.
water rate is.
Okay, so let's stick with sewer, I just used the
Yeah,
wrong word.
we were just
We've
working
got-
on the sewer, and I'm not thinking that you went up 17,000 on the sewer, did you? No, okay.
And I think the report we got at the beginning of the budget season, so May or June-ish, was 11. So now we know it's 17, but, so even the 11,000 is not reflected in this contract, correct?
No, this was just,
I'd like to negotiate that.
The only increase was due to the cost of living. And part of that, if I may, and I'm sorry, I'm sitting down, maybe I'll stand, just so I feel like I'm doing something important. Part of that conversation this year in regards to what the city's doing and what they're paying for it, obviously their number one source of revenues comes from gambling, with the Betsy closing and some other places, it's actually caused a financial burden upon them as well. So we didn't really dive into the weeds too much with that. What we did was just kind of did what Gallatin County did with Three Forks, is just basically put in a visualization of a 3% increase every year, versus trying to go down to the tax of trying to decipher everything out. We could spend forever and a day and we never get anywhere trying to cost share and everything else. Not that it's a bad idea, it's just, let's be realistic. Their mill value is a lot less than ours, quite a bit. I think they actually visualized, what, 1,800 to 2,100 or something like that, a mill value this year. So it's not huge, and then of course the biggest source of revenues from your gambling, which is just crazy. But it financially, in my opinion, is that the city is not in a position really to take on more for the public safety at this juncture than what they're at right now. And that's a tough conversation to have with the city council, because our cost of doing business is going up, and we understand that. But it's very hard to share that down, with everything that they got going on as well. So, in my mind, it's not a perfect agreement, but it's there and it meets the needs of the people, that we're required to take care of. And I think that it gives us something a little more to work with, at this juncture. And obviously, we can always go back and revisit it at a later date, but, it's not, I think if we had some better growth and some money coming into the city than what they have, I think it'd be a different conversation. But I think they lost 80 grand this year in their budget, didn't you? So, you know, that's a pretty big hit when your mill value is only $1,800 to $2,100. So, I think that's kind of where we left it, and just try to get it in place.
That being said, you know, this raise on the sewer was all for our sewer lagoon. That's all part of paying that bid off, you know? So, I mean, it's gonna be a tough deal to mess with that. It really would be. And it's really not gonna be, I mean, it would be a pretty big storm, but I've got no problems if you want it. I know that we're working on part of this matrix that we had to do with DEQ, and then we got a forgiveness loan, $600,000. Our water rates had to be, instead of from being on the bottom 5 of the state of Montana, you have to have your water rates and your sewer rates up to a certain degree, but they, I believe it was like $65, $70. We were nowhere near that. In order to get these grants and the forgiveness, you have to have, you know, they want you to do your due diligence, and, you know, you're giving people water that's nobody else in the state is, you know, we got the best, cheapest water in town. So what they make you do is, if you're gonna get the loans and whatnot, you have to hit that area that they want. And so that's part of how we were doing this. We have, between the water and the sewer, we had to have some rate hikes. And, you know, the sewer, we're gonna be sitting okay there. But the next deal is, we got subdivisions that are coming in here. We're doing a water study to try and figure out, that's our next problem, is our old water systems here. We don't even know where some of those water lines are. They were done way back a long time ago. So that's gonna be going on, but that would not be the same as the sewer. And that's probably, we're gonna be doing trying to get a resolution for that. And I don't know, it's maybe sometime next year that we might take a run on that too. And then that would be just to provide infrastructure here, not taking a loan, trying to make sure we got water for everybody that wants to build a subdivision here. So, you know, the council would be open, but right now, I don't think it would be, I just don't know how that would go over.
And this information is great to have. I didn't have it. So there was a big hole. I got this 12 minutes before 10, so I haven't had a chance to review it. But I feel like if we had had a member on your committee again, this information could have been brought back, and it would not be a surprise today. We would already know it. If Wynn feels he can absorb the $17,000, that's fine with me, and you're nodding your head, that's great, but that shouldn't come back on the commissioners or the citizens of Broadwater County not in Townsend, or be a request from other departments. So I leave that to you guys, but again, I think we needed to have somebody on the committee early on so that this wouldn't be a question today. We already would have these answers. And maybe you guys do, but I didn't. Nobody shared it with me.
increase in the jail rate back in May, that was to encompass the increase into the already projected sewer and the understanding that the water rate's going up as well. So part
Didn't
of that,
Brandon though say you guys had decided not to reduce it
no, we,
when we adopted the budget? I think you stood up and said
so
we're
that
not
was,
going to
that was in
reduce,
a,
or
that-
increase.
that was a different one, with DOC. That was one of the conversations we were having with DOC, which is a double-edged sword as well. You know, obviously, we went from 65.93 or 65.95. It was what the daily jail rate was. We bumped it up to $2, made it 67.95 to absorb the increase with the water and the sewer. We were gonna raise it up to 69.13 with DOC, but I'm reluctant to do that as understanding the Lewis and Clark County Jail to open in August of 2020. I would still like to have that little carrot out there to maybe have DOC still utilize our facility as being $2 cheaper than what Lewis and Clark will be. And, you know, when you look at them saving, they can put 30 inmates in our jail, that's saving them, you know, $60 a day, but $60 a day times 365 is serious money for them as well. So I've kind of held off on raising that to see if we can maybe keep that DOC people coming there and giving us some money to keep the doors open. So that's kind of where we're at with that. If that explains it.
I have a question. So how do we handle now city prisoners that are arrested in town on some city, deal and city court, et cetera, and they're in jail in here? Is
So-
there a payment for those
No,
or no?
if they are arrested, it doesn't matter anywhere in the state of Montana. If you're arrested by the Bozeman PD, you go to Gallatin County Jail. Bozeman does not pay for that prisoner.
Okay.
They have to, if they have a warrant, the PD has to go pick them up wherever they're located at. If they have to go to court, the PD has to take them to the court. However, they don't pay for housing them because they're still arrested within the county. Now, if they're arrested for a city ordinance violation, then the city would have to pay to house that inmate in there. And so that's the only time that a jail charges a city is if it's a city ordinance violation that the person goes to jail for.
Okay.
Because that's outside the scope of what the NCA
State
is.
law.
Yes, so. But like locally now, since we have the local agreement, they don't have a PD, we transport all the city court warrants, we take people to court, regardless of where they're located, arrested, so. If that helps,
So this contract is pretty much all this contract is for providing of law enforcement services. This contract,
Yes.
in all reality, has nothing to do with the detention center.
That's right.
So we can come to the council and say, we would like to negotiate with you on our water rate for the detention center and have a separate agreement on that. This is strictly for the provision in law enforcement services.
And that was exactly what my recommendation was gonna be. This is solely about county providing law enforcement services in the city of Townsend instead of them having a separate police department. If they had a separate police department, we would still have the same sewer rate we've got now because we're a customer on the city sewer. So if you guys wanna have a discussion with them, I think it should be outside the four corners of that agreement that you got on the table there. But keep in mind, the other thing is, the city's sewer is an enterprise fund. So they can't be making deals that are below cost of everybody else without buying, same as we would have an enterprise fund. Enterprise funds are supposed to be basically.
So is
scroll-
your water an enterprise fund also?
Yes. But
But you're correct, Mike.
there's a couple, we'd have to check the water line, and I think the figure the figure that Wen came up with, I think, was for the wrong size. I think we'll get together and we'll talk about the size of the water line that goes in there. I think I did find that out, so.
Well, and that's where, well, that's a little caveat to that, it depends on which way they go. So part of their water discussion was that they were, regardless of the line coming in, they were gonna neck it down to 2 inch and run off that. However, I'm metered, so it really doesn't matter. And so, I'm still gonna pay whatever it is for meter rate. I mean, whatever I'm paying right now for, is gonna be, whatever they assign as a cubic, whatever it may be, I don't remember off the top of my head. I'm metered. So I know there's 200,000 gallons that run in and out of that building, every month. So, I mean, it's whatever rate they attach to it, even if they did it off the other way, I'm still metered. It was like it was either like $279 to $587 a month for water. It's just which way they went with it. So that's kind of where it was at. It's, you know, I can take the meter out. Can we do that?
Yeah, I agree, it's two separate issues that we need to talk about, and that we probably engage the city at a later date if we want to negotiate
Well-
on that, so I think we need to stick with,
I'm good with
this,
that.
with this contract, and the law enforcement portion of what we need to be talking about here today.
My only issue is, I got this 12 minutes before the meeting, that means the citizens didn't have a chance to weigh in either,
That's
because
fine.
it
You
wasn't
can-
at the clerk and recorder's office.
I'm not in dire straits.
Oh, okay, so it's
I just
okay if we
came off
postpone
of
a
a
week?
really good weekend, so I'm cool.
All right, I was gonna ask for a special meeting if you
No,
weren't in
no,
a
no.
hurry,
It-
but if we can wait till next Tuesday, that'd be
We,
great.
we tried all summer and all spring. Going back to what Mike said, it's just hard to get anybody to come. And vacations, I understand all that. I just don't really have a job but sitting in that office there and waiting for somebody to walk in. I've been to meetings everywhere, I was the only one that showed up and I had a good time.
And made some great decisions, probably.
Probably not.
So we will table this until our next meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see, next, Sheriff's Office claim discussion decision. This is the claim for facility photographs, the amount of $500.
Don't even worry about it.
Is there a motion to approve or disapprove this claim, or?
I'll make the motion to approve the claim.
Okay, I'll second the motion. Is there any further discussion?
If I can, that bill was paid by citizens on Friday. So, there's no need in signing. So,
Okay.
Well, that's not the point.
I know.
I mean, I appreciate the citizens coming forward for that, and I still think you just use that donation for something else, and we pay the claim.
Well, everybody wrote the checks to Burton Imaging, and that's where it went. So they put it out there, and I said, whatever you guys wanna do, and I didn't even put it out. The meeting got put on social media, and then people started contacting the Broward Reporter, and they said, what do you want us to do? I said, if they're gonna, don't have them write me a check, I don't want it. But I said, they wanna write to Burton Imaging, they can do that, and that's what they did, so. But I understand what you're saying, Commissioner.
Yeah, I apologize to our citizens for the action that resulted from that.
If we're gonna go down this track, I think there's another piece of the story that needs to also be shared. I got an incredible number of people that came forward in support of that $500 being better spent on training to keep deputies safe. So the only reason that would be brought forward is we need to remember that we don't just serve people who are vocal, people who are in this meeting, people who may want to yell at us in meetings. We serve 6,000 people in this county, and not all of them are on Facebook. Not all of them are able to come to this meeting because they're working. There's an awful lot of them that are pretty loud one-on-one that are not making their voices heard. We serve them as well. So, yeah, we're a divided county. I am very proud of the people who wrote those checks. That's appropriate and that's the way it should be. $500 should be spent on training or something to keep your deputies safe. And the people who support the action, those actions and my arguments, also deserve to be served. So, I think it's important to remember there's multiple sides to every story and multiple opinions.
Okay, so we will move on to a closed door, or Dwayne?
Don't we have a
I would like to
subdivision?
know why there's such a confusion over $500 when you're talking giving this guy $50 an hour to write out a piece of paper that isn't gonna, you've already decided, it ain't gonna work. And I can't understand people thinking that this was wrong. Photographs of the police department is correct. What is $500 compared to, what's this guy gonna be? 25 hours? You know, that's $50 times 25. It just irritates the hell out of me for people to do, you people, one person, doing what you did. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
There's
do
a
we not
motion
have?
on the floor, sir, it's been seconded. Correct?
Oh, to pay the claim, yes. So all in favor of paying the claim? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same.
No,
Motion carries.
and my dissenting comment is the $500 spent for pictures from a Fort Benton photographer will not keep our deputies safe like those training hours would. I'll give you that, Ann. Don't we have a subdivision? Lake Vista,
Oh.
She's
Lot
waiting out
5?
in the hallway. She's waiting out in the hallway.
Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, yeah. Yes, did you have something for us?
I just want to provide a brief comment here. Part of the issue is the process that we set up. You guys set up a budget, you approve our budget, and within that, we have authority to operate. And if someone doesn't agree with how the sheriff wants to spend $500, but it's in his authority to do it, tell him to run for sheriff. And that's what this comes down to, is he has to have the authority to exercise his judgment as sheriff and to exercise his budget authority as it has already been approved by the commission. And that same goes for me, or same goes for you. If you wanna do something and it's in your budget, or if I wanna do something, it's in my budget, and it's something that it happens to be important for my office, I'm not gonna come asking everybody in the community. If they don't like the way I'm doing it, tell them to run for county attorney.
That's right.
And I feel like we need to get back to that. Let us do our jobs.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cory.
I'm gonna ask Eric for a review on this, and also Bill. Why do we have a process of approving claims if it's just automatic? There is statute on that, and I think we need some feedback from Mako as far as why that works the way it does.
Okay.
We approve hundreds of claims. Very few come through with questions, and if we're not allowed to ask questions, it just doesn't seem to square with MCA.
Okay. Yes, Wayne?
I have a meeting that I have to go to, I just know if there's anything you guys needed from me before I left. So. Nothing? Okay, so if you do, I want to make sure.
Okay, Nicole Brown, Community Development, Lake Vista, Lot 5, major subdivision.
I didn't print an entire findings of fact document for you because I felt that would be a waste of paper. Pass this around. This is,
Thank you.
so for Lake Vista, Lot 5 minor, or I'm sorry, Lot 5 major, from our last meeting, there was discussion regarding connectivity between potential subdivisions. So I have added condition number 5. This states, the subdivision plat shall provide a 60-foot public road easement for the continuation of roads between adjacent subdivided and unsubdivided properties for the convenient movement of traffic, connection of neighborhoods, effective provision of emergency services, and provision of utilities. So that was taken from specifically Wheatland Meadows major subdivision, where we had this same process.
So does the condition, so does he have to go both, no, he doesn't have to, he just has to go south, right? Because so when the next phase, the other phase across the road comes in, does he have to go north even though that ground's already all subdivided?
We can look at that condition at that time. I wanted to, you know, I've said this before, but I like to use the same language for every condition as long as it's working. So in this instance, you know, I basically just, Wheatland Meadows was plural easements, so I made this singular because I feel like 2 access easements in that location is really not necessary.
Okay.
But I can make it say south, but, you know, to the north is a road. So.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
obviously, if it doesn't fit when he develops, or if he develops the parcel on the north, if it's not going to fit, then we wouldn't include that condition.
Okay.
I think this was the only condition that we were asking about, right?
Correct. Because we were going to let the developer and the developer's representative work out the location. And as long as it did not impact the landowner who's currently occupying the lot directly to the east, I believe that's 4-5. I would be working with the developer and their representative to make sure that that road is not put in place there. Because the preliminary plat they were given did not show that easement, and I feel they most likely would have been given, they would have been here to provide public comment had that road been there. It would potentially negatively impact.
And I would support that since they did buy their lot with a certain understanding. This would change that.
Right.
Which I think could put the county in jeopardy.
So as long as this access easement road was further west, I don't see that there's any reason why we need to decide where that's going to be. So, and that's based on the conversation we had last week too, you know, the topography and the layout of the land. I would like to allow the developer to have a little leeway.
And if I may, Bernadette, was there any issue with the landowner at this point with this
Not at
language
this
and the
point,
intent?
no.
Okay, thanks. So we, in following MCA 763608, the findings of fact do mitigate or address that there are no effects on agriculture or agricultural water user facilities. It does address and mitigate local service impacts. We have those letters from local law enforcement, the school. Natural environment is also addressed in the findings of fact. There is no visible impact to wildlife or wildlife habitat. And again, we have a letter from law enforcement and the school on impacts for public health and safety that I don't see are not addressed and mitigated. So I'm ready to vote whenever you guys are.
I will, for the record, will be abstaining on this vote.
Okay. I move to grant preliminary plat approval to Lake Vista Lot 5 major subdivision with the changes as presented today to the findings of fact.
I'll second the motion.
Motion been made and second to approve the subdivision as presented, finding of facts, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried.
I also have a Four Springs Estates for you to sign from last week. I did not get the signatures, I had to make your amendments to the conditions.
Great job.
So I wanted you, can I discuss Four Springs Estates? I know it's not on the agenda, this is simply, we didn't get your signature, and I want you to see that I made those amendments or additions to the conditions
these were, yeah.
before you sign.
One for us to sign.
What's that?
We need to sign one of them and then
Oh,
keep a
okay.
copy for reference.
So I just want you to know, on the front page of this packet, I added condition number 10. And this is based on your motion. States all developer proposed covenants must not be contradictory to the commission required covenants.
You mean 11?
Yep,
Okay.
that's the one.
That looks good.
This is why I need you double checking. And then on the next page, this is language, again, I'm sorry, still on that same page. Under 12, where we had discussed adding language to this commission required covenant section that states, if you look at the second sentence on condition 12, any amendment to these commission required covenants will require subdivision review.
Looks good.
And so if you agree to that language, I'll be adding it to every subdivision from here on out, that additional sentence.
I think this is process, but I will make a motion. I will move that we adopt the language as presented in both numbers 11 and 12 for future findings of fact.
Is there a second?
I'll second with the discussion, please.
Motion's been made, second, any further discussion?
So we also talked about, was it 4 through, what was it? No, it wasn't. Was there some other ones that we discussed on this? that we
Those are
didn't?
the only two I had notes on.
Okay.
If there was something else I missed, I will gladly add that. Or amend that.
Well, I guess the other was with the subdivision. This doesn't pertain to this, right? Subdivision covenants.
Oh, correct, yeah,
Right.
so that's why we added that they will have to amend their
Yeah,
covenant so
right,
that they're
okay.
not contradictory to yours, yes. And so with that being added as a condition of
Right.
approval,
Gotcha.
they'll have
Okay.
to provide amended covenants.
That makes sense.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Let's see, I'll have to get,
You should have an
I'll
extra.
have to have your
for
copy
signature.
back so we can sign it. There's the signed copy, and that's your copy.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we will go to a closed door personnel issue, rights of the individual outweigh the rights of the public to know.